All right, Bannock County Commissioners are in session. It is Tuesday, March the 3rd. It's March. Happy March, everybody. Wow. All right, with that, this morning we've got indigent business, and I believe the clerk, Mr. Dixon, has that for us today.
I'll take care of it. We have two cases for cremation submittals today. Case number 20260016 is an application for assistance with cremation expenses through Wilkes Funeral Home in the amount of $1,500. The application was submitted. The deceased was a 77-year-old female who lived in an assisted living facility and does not have any next of kin. And so that is a recommendation for that assistance. And case number 20260017, an application for assistance with cremation expenses through Cornelison Funeral Home in the amount of $1,500. The application was submitted by the funeral home, and all of the information was received by them. The deceased was a 71-year-old male who was living in an assisted facility and has no other balance or funds. Resources, that's the word. So that's also asked for an approval on that case number.
Okay. Any discussion on those?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we go ahead and approve case 20260016 and 0017 as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Hal Jensen to discuss the memorandum of understanding with Fort Hall. Hal?
Commissioner Hal Jensen, Planning Director. I have with me Tristan Orquin, Assistant Director, and Monty Gray, legal representation with Fort Hall tribal members. I believe Monty also represents the Planning and Development Commission, and he's been in conversation back and forth as this development as this agreement development took place. He's been in close contact with County Legal, John Radford, etc. And we have it in front of you for consideration from the Commissioner's viewpoint, standpoint, potential approval.
Okay. Commissioner Moser, I know you have some questions on this.
Real quickly, by clarification, we have spent some time between our planning department and the tribe's planning department coming up with how do we best serve those lands that are non-tribal members, and who has the best line of representation for helping them when they come to us for either land division or building permits, etc. And we've been back and forth trying to find out what makes the most sense. This was developed between the two legal entities, and that's where we're at.
Okay. Commissioner Moser.
Well, I'm say that it's not really developed between the two legal entities because Jonathan hasn't reviewed a lot of this. So there's a few things in here in paragraph 3 where it talks about to regulate land use within the exterior boundaries of the Fort Hall Reservation. Exterior, why? That's a statement that
I think
doesn't make sense
I
to
think
me.
Monty would better address that, but I believe that they approach that any lands that have been sold that are no longer part of the sovereign nation tribal land that's held in trust, that is now held, quote unquote, outside of, not necessarily outside the perimeter boundaries, but outside of a legal entity. I may be misspeaking.
I know the tribe has land out by our landfill. They have ground in Lava Hot Springs and stuff, and that was a statement that bothered me a lot.
All right.
Yes.
All right, point me.
Monty, would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh, yes, I apologize. Monty Gray, Assistant General Counsel, in-house counsel for the Shoshone-Bannock tribes. I also work with our Land Use Policy Commission. And I'm here today because we've been in talks with your planning and zoning development group and how to kind of address how to handle some of these issues that have a likelihood for concurrent jurisdiction over fee lands that are within the exterior boundaries of the Fort Hall Reservation. So I'm happy to answer your question. Point me to you said paragraph 3?
Yes.
Okay, so as I read the paragraph 3, it says nothing in this agreement shall be construed as a waiver of any jurisdiction Bannock County may have over lands within the reservation for the regulatory functions described in the preceding section. This agreement also shall not be construed as a concession or admission to exclusive or concurrent jurisdictions with the tribes over such lands for those functions.
That isn't my paragraph 3.
It's in your resolution.
Oh, it's in the resolution of the tribes.
Yeah, 2025-0758.
All right, so whereas the Land Use Policy Ordinance establishes Land Use Policy Commission to administer and enforce the ordinance, including authority to review and make recommendation. Oh, wait a minute, we're up one above, I apologize. So paragraph 3, Fort Hall Business Council enacted the Land Use Policy Ordinance found in Title 25, Chapter 1 of the Law and Order Code to regulate land use within the exterior boundaries of the Fort Hall Reservation in a manner that protects the peace, safety, health, morals, and general welfare of all the residents and political integrity and economic security of the Shoshone-Bannock tribes. So what is, help me out with the concern.
Well, where it says the exterior boundaries of Fort Hall Reservation.
Okay.
That's where I'm saying that I know that there's a tribal ground in Lava. I know that there's tribal ground that is outside the boundaries of the Fort Hall Reservation that you have. To me, this says that you have control of that now. And I don't agree with that.
I actually think that it's kind of pointed the other way, because what it says to exercise and regulate land use within the exterior boundaries. So in other words, we have our exterior boundaries as your boundary line, right? And if you're enforcing your regulations within your exterior boundaries, it's inside the Fort Hall Reservation.
Well,
But if you-
I didn't read it that way.
Yeah.
And I've asked a couple of other people and they didn't read it that way either. So I don't want this to go to court because of a statement of exterior. So that bothers me.
So,
And then,
okay.
and then as we go, my next deal on that would be that if you're just talking about within the Fort Hall Reservation boundaries and the ground that is not owned by the tribe but is owned by Bannock County residents who are paying property taxes on it, and then they lose representation where they're paying property taxes, because we've made a decision a couple of years back that we don't tax the tribe for property within Bannock County. So, to me, we're giving up the rights of Bannock County citizens and designating them to the tribe and not to Bannock County where they're paying their taxes. Couple of concerns I have.
No, and I very much appreciate your concerns. I can allow your attorneys to represent whether or not you think that language is sufficient. This isn't a resolution that's signed by council. That's not within the agreement between the parties itself. Therefore, the resolution, to the extent that you're worried about the resolution being binding, it's actually the terms that are within the agreement. And if within the agreement itself you want that clarified, I don't think that's an issue, because I think that's all it simply is meant. As to address the issues about representation and taxation of its citizens and having the tribes make decisions there, I get your concerns, right? Because what we both do for people who reside on fee simple land within the boundaries of the Fort Hall Reservation, they actually receive a combined services of both the county and Fort Hall, right? We both provide services to those people in that. I believe that there is some road maintenance that occurs by Bannock County. Water lines, sewer lines, Fort Hall police and ambulance services are heavily they also serve the fee simple ones, and we don't collect any monies off of those. I mean, just kind of walking you through kind of a fairness issue in that one also is that they receive a lot of services from the tribes, where the tribes receive no money off of their taxes either. So there is this dynamic that is at play, trying to figure out who's the best people to decide kind of how to handle situations. We have reached a similar agreement with Bingham County. In fact, that was the agreement that was modeled after. It's the same agreement with the, heavily the same agreement with the addition of annual reporting being provided to Bannock County. I can't change whether or not the people that get taxed have that, but in that the representation, you're right. I mean, they're not voting on any of the council members of the Floral tribe. But there is a due process element to it. There is also an ability for the county to terminate this agreement if they deem that it is not working out or makes sense for the county. And so you aren't walking away from it. The Idaho state statutes actually provide for agreements like this, where we're able to reach matters that affect jurisdiction and handling of like planning and zoning matters. Because what you have in like with fee land, there's an issue of whether or not you have jurisdiction, or we have jurisdiction, or there's current jurisdiction, right? And with fee land members, you guys, fee land non-member tribal people, Bannock County has jurisdiction on that fee land. But so does, there's a strong likelihood, depending on what the issue is, that also the tribes do, right? Because what you have is you have there's a U.S. Supreme Court case that just says basically if it affects the political integrity, health and welfare, or security of the tribes, that's a U.S. v. Montana case, that tribes have jurisdiction to regulate that. Where would that come into play? Well, you have things like septic systems and stuff like that, that if you start putting things too close to each other, right, your septic can poison the wells of another person. So you have those type of issues where it raises that concurrent jurisdiction. This is a way that when we met with your planning and zoning that we thought was an easier way to address issues where people weren't stuck in this conundrum of where they go into one, like they have to go into both, have to pay fees for both. They're not happy. You probably get several people that come into Bannock County that are all like, hey, we like working with Bannock County, we don't want to work with the tribes. But we also hear several members several non-tribal members that are part of the Bannock County community that come into the tribes and say, we just want to work with the tribes. We don't want to work with the county because we're going through double hoops for everything. Right, so what you have is you have kind of like two hoops to accomplish the same thing. And this is how we thought we might be able to overcome some of those issues that in a manner that we did with Bingham County.
So you brought up a couple things there. You have an agreement with Bingham County. What about Power County?
No.
Yeah, there was a big blow up a few years back about this whole discussion right here that we're having with Power County. And then the other part is neither Power County nor Bingham County take care of any roads on the reservation. Bannock County is the only county that does. Maybe that's a discussion we need to have too.
Yeah, that discussion definitely could happen, right? That's related to our transportation department, so I wasn't really diving into the transportation department, but you're right, that conversation could happen. The dynamic with Power County, you're correct. It's a little bit tenuous, to say best. I've gone into Bannock County where they wanted to put in a sawmill, and the sawmill has clear fire hazards, right? We reached an agreement with the actual landowner where you put in fire safety measures to help protect that community that is largely surrounded by sagebrush and stuff that could easily go up in a wildfire, and he was all cool with it. He was all like, yeah, I'm good with all that. I sat in front of the Power County Planning and Zoning Commission, presented this, that was all agreed to, all stipulated to. And the Planning and Zoning of Power County says, I don't know why we have to listen to this just because the tribes want it. Right? Their own council that time period says, the applicant has actually agreed to all this. They said, yeah, we don't care. So, yes, there is different attitudes and dynamics out there on being able to work with each other. And you're right, Power County has a hard time working with the tribes. But I'm going to also say in the past, I also recognize, I know enough about the history in the past with the tribes. I know very much also the tribes had difficulty working with Power County in other situations. So I'm not trying to say that this is a one-sided or that we're a victim versus the other side being a perpetrator. But what I'm saying is that that dynamic exists because I think there are some mind frames and approaches that are maybe stuck in ways that prefer isolationism over cooperation.
Just real quick, couple things want to clarify. I did review the MOU in detail. Me and Mr. Conyers had a back and forth on that. We modified the language somewhat. I'm a little bit confused on the agenda as to why the MOU wasn't included and the resolution from the tribe was included. I think that's where a lot of the confusion is coming from. The resolution of the tribal council is not binding on the commission. That's simply their authorization to enter into the MOU. In terms of whether or not to sign the MOU today, that's a matter for the commission to weigh, to make a decision. If we want to talk about handling fee, county residents on fee simple land differently, we can have that conversation. But in terms of legality, I'm fairly confident in the MOU. I think it could be signed today, but we can have further conversations.
Do we actually have the MOU? All I have is the resolution.
Yeah, I have not
I don't
seen
have
that.
an
I don't know why
That's not the MOU.
that's the resolution. I'm not sure why the memorandum.
thought,
of understanding
That's
was-
the same thing.
That is not on
Yeah,
it.
It's not the same thing. This is something different. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I just printed out the one page that I was looking at. It's a record of decision. I guess that's,
And I have a copy of the MOU
Resolution.
with me. That's why I was trying to read from the MOU when you were talking about paragraph 3 originally. I was confused.
I'm not
yes.
sure.
So this
Okay, it's not in our packet,
Yeah,
so I have not seen the MOU.
And to be, with it not being in the packet,
we can't
I
do
think we need
anything.
to table this.
Well, it's gonna be because this is what I was looking at and talking about.
Right.
So if we're talking about something else, I need to have a review of it.
So we owe you a little apology that we brought you here and we didn't have the right stuff in front of us today. But, so yeah, well, we can table this, maybe put on Thursday.
I have some other questions on top of that might help in there. The same thing, if you go down and look at that resolution, and here's, part of mine is, what is it, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th? Where it says the procedure for Bannock County to refer all zoning, the word all drives me nuts. All zoning and land use matters within the Fort Hall Indian Reservation to the Shoshone Bannock tribes. If we do have property owners fee simple out there, I'm uncomfortable with that resolution that we are basically referring all zoning and land use to Fort Hall. And yet these are Bannock County residents that, we represent as well too. And I guess the other problem I have is, what about conflicting policies? Our planning and zoning may have some conflicting policies with the Fort Hall. What if there is a conflicting policy? How do we resolve that? In this record of decision, in the second paragraph, towards the end, it says, including that we're basically, the Bannock County is going to enter this MOU, Memorandum of Agreement, including the referral of all zoning, land use inquiries, applications, complaints, and related matters to the Shoshone Bannock Tribes Land Use Department. I'm a little uncomfortable that we are exclusively, if there is a complaint, if there is a conflict, that we're basically just passing that off all to Fort Hall. Those are just some of my issues. Again, this isn't the MOU, but those are some of my concerns, that if you have Bannock County residents who are paying Bannock County taxes, and I would assume they would be under the jurisdiction of DEQ for their water and their wells and their septic systems. I don't know. That's why I've got more rabbit holes here that I think I would have to have addressed before I would be willing to sign an MOU. And I haven't talked with Hal or Tristan or anyone else. Just reading this, it throws up some red flags for me personally. So just, those are some of my issues. Even though we're not signing this, that would be something I'd have to have addressed, that particular language. And I haven't read the MOU to see how it, but in these resolutions, we are completely, we're basically saying, here, you have complete jurisdiction over these. That's the way I read it. Now, if I'm wrong, then I will stand corrected. But those are the things that bother me about property owners. And property owners that is not their fault, that maybe they've inherited ground that's been there for 100 years, and all of a sudden now, are they going to lose some of their rights? Are they going to lose some of their appeals? Or those scare me just a little bit. Just for you and also for Hal and Tristan, those are just my thoughts. The language, I don't think, is ready for this.
No, I very much appreciate where you're coming from. The agreement does assign planning and zoning matters to the Fort Hall tribes for those issues that are within the boundaries of the reservation. I know your comprehensive plan actually references that its intent is to work with the tribes in your planning and zoning. And so I do not profess to be an authority on all of the zoning designations of the county for inside the reservation. I can tell you that most likely we differ on certain aspects of where we put different zoning. And of course, if that was assigned to us, it would be coming underneath the tribe's zoning, because that was part of the issue, is that you have two different jurisdictions assigning different priorities and different issues of where growth happens and where growth doesn't happen, where home locations happen, where it doesn't happen. And when you have two of them working over each other, then neither one accomplishes what they're trying to do. I can also tell you that the tribes, for the most part, give you a little bit of just an idea of what the atmosphere looks like out there. As far as tribes own 97%. Tribal, as far as owned by tribal members, tribal allotted trust land, and tribal government-owned trust land. We own 97% of the lands within the exterior boundaries of the reservation. And that's a total of 565,000 acres that we currently run and manage pursuant to our treaty. So one, I guess where I'm going with that one is that you're not talking about serving a large population. This is a small population that is out there within the boundaries, and where we thought we reached an understanding with your planning and development group is that it just made sense over the few number of people that are out there that we handle those designations. And so this is completely voluntary, right? Nobody is forced to enter into this agreement. We thought it made a lot of sense from a pragmatic point of view. There are provisions that if it doesn't work, you can simply cancel the contract. I can tell you that we've had our agreement with Bingham County for decades now. I think we're going on, I'd have to remember exactly what I know it's more than 15 years. So they haven't canceled it yet, so they don't seem to be as concerned with those dynamics. But you still have due process within the tribes, right? Just simply because you are trying to build it within the tribe doesn't mean that you forfeit all your due process through your claims and what you're able to do. It just means that the zoning laws and the parcel sizes and different things like that come underneath a different set of laws. right, the county could easily resolve that by just recognizing the tribal laws within that section, and then it's the same. If that was a concern, right, those are concerns that can be remedied on a county level. But, right, I leave that between yourselves and your council.
Okay. Any further questions? Comments, concerns? So then I would move that we table this until Thursday, give us a chance to review the MOU and go from there. Is that, are you able to come back again on Thursday, Monty?
That's what I'm looking up right now as we speak.
Or if you need next Tuesday, we could do that as well.
So this MOU only has to do with plan and zoning. I guess my concern, the same thing is, do we have any kind of an MOU put together for road maintenance?
No.
I mean,
There was-
and I understand your numbers of 97% is yours, then our budget, our filling potholes and everything else is that, I mean, we are bearing the cost of a lot of those. And if that cost is coming from Bannock County taxpayers, I have a concern that maybe we need to, if we are having an MOU, we ought to look a little more deeper. I understand that there's an agreement probably for law enforcement, fire and everything else, but even just Bannock County with roads and the amount of money that's going in there, and it'd be interesting to see how much of that cost is being borne by the rest of Bannock County to pay those, how many miles of roads that are out there. So we could be opening another can here, but I'm just as concerned about if we are having this relationship looked at this way, that maybe we need to broaden that scope a little bit and look at some other services.
Yeah, and those are issues that are not addressed in this agreement.
I agree.
But I'm sure the tribes would be happy to engage in that conversation. I know that there were some agreements at one time period. I know that those agreements expired or were canceled and don't exist. And so there is no formal agreements as to the handling of the roads that I'm aware of, short of maybe some cooperation agreements. But I'd have to check with the transportation department.
What's your schedule look like?
So I am actually in the morning on Thursday, I am in a different meeting. And so I can do next Tuesday.
Okay, let's just do that then. We'll postpone this till next Tuesday, go from there.
All right, that sounds
Thank you, Monty, appreciate that, and again, apologize for the confusion on our part.
not a concern. Thank everyone for their time.
Okay,
Commissioner, did you want me to resubmit an agenda request, or are you just gonna roll it over?
why don't you just go ahead and resubmit one, because Christie's not here, so that'll make sure we have a paper trail for getting it done.
And John, can we get a copy of the MOU so that we can attach it as part
We're
of it?
forwarding that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Hal, update.
Update.
That's what it says,
We're
update.
getting back in the saddle. We had 3 members of our team in training last week. It was interesting as we limped our way through a work week with 4 or 5 people when we're accustomed to working with 8, and we're now playing catch up yesterday and today. It's nice to have everybody back in the office. By way of announcement, we do have 1 team member who retires on the 27th. So there will be some other items forthcoming relative to that with the commission. We have been diligently continue to refine components of the ordinance. Had some conversations with the city of Pocatello since our agreement to provide inspections as backup for them. We will experience that opportunity during spring break when the city needs our assistance. What else can I share with you? We appreciate Mr. Radford's diligent efforts as he continues to do his legal review of the ordinance in its first draft, getting ready to go. And
I have something.
beyond that,
I have a reminder for you that will be a good update for them in this agenda item.
Yes, sir. Please share.
And that is with code enforcement. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Tristan? With me, Hal? So we have had several meetings, Tristan and Janae and I, talking about the ordinance and the fee schedule that our ordinance has for compounding fees, daily fees, for a citation to be written. And there is currently no mechanism in our legal system to accept those compounding fees. And so there's really no way for a citation to be written and enforced at this moment.
All bark, no bite.
Yeah. We are working on that with the state Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll be able to get to some sort of a resolution and figure out some sort of a way to input those citations. That's the easy part. There will be no way for the system to accept and automatically update compounding fees. So is there anything you want to add to that, Tristan?
Yeah, so I think the solution we did come up with for that in the interim is just have code enforcement officer would then write a citation for a certain number of days, and then all of those days would be input into the system, and then she would go back out. If they are still in violation, then a new citation for the next 30 days would be written all at the same time, so that the clerks here are not trying to figure out, okay, are they still in violation? How many days have they still been in violation? We would just write the citations for a chunk of time.
The other issue that we need to address is currently the citation booklet that she has is just Bannock County Sheriff's citation booklet, which the Supreme Court has said is inappropriate because she's not a deputized sheriff.
Accurate.
So we're going to need to get her a citation booklet essentially that just says Bannock County Code Enforcement Officer. And I think that's about it, but we've had a lot of bark and no bite, but we are working on it. So there's that portion of the update. So now you guys know that we're working on that a little bit.
We've discussed having Bannock County Sheriff deputies simply accompany her in all of her code enforcement activities so that they can issue a uniform citation. That would kind of sidestep the issue. It's also, to me, a matter of safety. I think it would be best for her to be accompanied by a deputy when she's talking to angry people on their land about what they're doing with their land. So these are, conversations I think that are developing, and we'll get something in front of the board pretty quick as to how to handle it.
Isn't our sheriff's department our code enforcement?
No.
They're not.
It's funny that in the city's agreements, there are some code enforcement agreements. It'd be interesting to look at the city agreements that are contracted with the county.
Not anymore. They're not in there anymore.
Yeah, but I mean,
Code enforcement's not in there
we
with the
used,
cities.
I know we used to have that, that's why I'm asking
But
that
it's not
question.
anymore.
So, yeah, it used to be, that was.
It's just like dog catchers and everything else. It's not in
Yeah,
there.
so, okay, that's interesting.
But that's one of the, so we got dog catchers and stuff that are not law enforcement. So it's already out there, a pattern, so all we have to do is follow a pattern that's out there.
Is she currently going out and verifying that whatever code violation has been taken care of?
She
So
is.
she's just automatically doing that on a 30-day notice or whatever it
Yes.
is?
Yep.
Okay. I hate the fact that she has to re-input stuff, but if that's where we're at, then that's where we're at.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is why we thought maybe a 30-day, maybe on some of them that are more pressing, a 2-week time frame, so that it's not every day we have to go out and issue a new piece of paper. We're just doing it on a monthly or
Okay,
bi-weekly basis.
okay.
So my question is, what is the hiccup we have, because we're not authorized to charge interest, penalties?
There's not a mechanism inside of the Odyssey program, which is where the clerks enter citations. So she can go, this is what happened, and a citation was issued, and the person came in to pay the fee, and the clerks downstairs said, there's no case number, there's no nothing, so they have to put it into the system, but there is no mechanism for the system to automatically just compound those fees. It doesn't do that. It doesn't work that way. And it's a Supreme Court system, Odyssey. So this is the mechanism that we came up with, is to have her go out and every 30 days just issue a new citation, and the same person will have 3, 4, 10 citations, all with their own citation number.
And just in my mind, so then does it appear when your ladies pull it up, or do they see all 10 of them? So they say, oh,
Yeah.
you have 10, so
So-
you see your fee is multiplied by 10, or they just go?
So they'll have all those fees, all those citations will show up when they pull the person up.
So again, is it one citation, again, just round arbitrary number, $100, now all of a sudden they do that for 3 months, now their total citation is $300, or is it still just $100? You see what I'm?
No, it'd be 300.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But any penalties attached? Or is that the hang up
It
with the
depends-
software?
It depends on however the citation is written, the dollar amount that she writes on the citation will be the fee for that citation. If she has 2 of them, if they have 2 or 3 of them.
So then theoretically, she would just say, instead of a flat 100, it might be 110, which includes fees.
Which you could manually put in that fee as a penalty, I would think. I
But
don't
if you
know.
have the sheriff's deputy going out and serving that, that'll circumvent the need for the process Jason is talking about. Because it'll be just like regular criminal citations. It'll go through that and the case number will attach. And then court fees will also be added onto that. There's a whole process that just builds that up so that when the time comes, if you do have the 3 different citations, then that's going to amalgamate and end up with that and whatever other fees may be attached to it. Plus, it's being tracked, and so if someone shows up to pay it, it's already in the system. It's comparable to what the city of Pocatello does, even though city of Pocatello's code enforcement is under the umbrella of law enforcement, it is separate. They do issue citations, but oftentimes they will have police officers go out with them as well.
Well, that's part of the purpose when we hired the individual for up at the event center. There was also, I thought, supposed to escort this individual, our code enforcement, in some of these things so that
I think that's.
they had some support.
I think that's right. So, and I think, just so that you know, Tristan, I think that Carrie did find a service code in Odyssey that
Yep,
we can
she
use.
sent that to us, so.
All right, perfect.
Next item, thank you. I have a question, had conversation with the coroner. Mr. Danner has approached me about cemeteries, individual plots of land on personal property, etc. I'm asking if we need direction from the commission to incorporate that into the ordinance rewrite.
We should,
Okay.
we should. Evidently, that is a growing issue.
Yes, I have 3, Mr. Danner has forwarded me 3 or 4 different ordinances from other counties as they've addressed this particular issue. We'll take those and look to model that and get that incorporated. Part of our ongoing, even though Mr. Radford is taking care of his review, we still have other miscellaneous items that continue to crop up as we go through this process. The other item, blindside Tristan, she was gone last week to training. One of her items that she brought back and we discussed yesterday is changing the title from code enforcement to code administration because it becomes less threatening and less quote-unquote rebellion, more approaching let's resolve the issues. So we're going to be studying that and then taking it to Matthew for his input and talking about how we perhaps modify that title and position internally in our office.
Yeah, my instructor kept saying, you are not here to enforce the code. You are here to administer the code. And I thought that made a lot of sense, that we're not trying to enforce anything. We're just here to help people and hope that they are doing what they're supposed to do for life safety and all of that, so.
I get told to be fluffy all the time, and I'm just not that person. Enforcement sounds fine to me.
Anyway, with that said, I will turn the time over to Tristan. She will give you a brief rundown on progress relative to the ordinance and where we stand on that issue.
So before we do ordinance, I did want to bring up, we are in the month of March, which is our last month to do our joint meeting with the Planning Council and Commissioners. So I'm currently reaching out to all of the council members to find some dates and times that work for the majority of them. And then we will be coming before the board for just our annual review and update of what the Planning Council has been working on the last year. And then along that same note, we do have one member of the council whose term expired yesterday. And we met with him yesterday, and he would like to re-up for another 3 years if you guys were willing to do that.
All right. Thoughts on that?
He probably should fill out, an intent or a applicant or whatever it is, and we'll review it. I think
Okay.
that would be the purpose of that. If he is, have him put that in writing on one of our forms or whatever, and say, I would like to extend that. I don't know whether we would legally need to publish that position for anyone else who may want to be on that since that is expired. I don't know. I defer that to legal to see if maybe it needs to be posted as a vacancy and have him reapply and, anyone else who might.
I'll have to double check on that because I'm not certain.
Yeah, the Local Land Use Planning Act does have provisions for how the council is selected. So let's take a closer look at that, and then I can discuss that with each commission member individually.
That's my only
We've made a
reservation.
habit of interviewing everybody that is on a board or put back on a board. So,
As long as we're consistent from board to board, and I think we need to treat this one the same way.
Perfect. Okay, and then for the ordinance update, we are currently in phase 2. So we're working on legal counsel review, just making sure that we don't have any takings from the changes that we've made. We are slightly behind our timeline just because it's taking a little bit longer to do that legal review. However, as staff, as Hal said, we are still just working on refining that ordinance so that we're running the timeline as concurrently as possible. So we are still kind of prepping draft 3 and then can finish draft 3 as soon as we get any notes back from legal counsel. So we are hoping to still be very close to on time. We're just a little behind right now. With that, since we don't want to have a commission work session until we have a final draft 3, that date of March 10th might be closer to the end of March, but we're still hoping to have it within that March timeline. So
if we talked to Ian and said, hey, would you leave Jonathan alone for a couple weeks?
I would love to say that, but unfortunately, we've got all kinds of stuff coming in right now.
Yeah.
We have a mountain of new information requests coming in that, and for some reason, people in the community don't want to stop breaking the law. But they want to up that game just a little bit lately.
So,
I have mostly cleared this week. I'm going to try to get through it all this week. Also, there was, we got a couple judicial reviews that are pending, and those are taking a lot of my time.
okay.
And I did also forward it to Emma so that she could start formatting as well, so that we can run as many of the timelines as possible at the same time. So,
Okay.
The other component to that, Commission, is to be aware that we're shooting for July 1st, and we have been monitoring building code as well as land use issues in this session of the legislature.
Yeah.
There's a potential car wreck coming July 1st between what we're trying to accomplish and what is being told we have to do by potentially effective July 1st through December or January 1st of next year. So just I was not even paying attention to that when we had our initial discussion about how all of this was going to fall out relative to our timeline. So
So we might be adopting it and then rewriting it.
amending it, whatever, just FYI. As you can see, there are critical components that happen, whether it be negotiations and working with, the tribe and their land use issues, or whether it be something as though issues that come from the coroner. There's always something that is always in the process, state of flux in our office, and we're trying to have something that is always concrete, and I am finding out that an ordinance is never concrete unless you leave it alone for 30 years. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for that.
Yeah, I think that's it, unless you have any questions.
Nope. Anything?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Carry on. Danae?
So, I'm here to get approval to write 2 grants, 2 IDO grants, one for Dempsey Creek. That would be to continue the efforts in the Lava Ranches area. And the other one is Crystal Springs, that is in I believe they're the hills above McCammon. In that area, there's really thick brush. And in the area that we're thinking of doing the mitigation is by the water reserve tank that's there.
Correct.
It's just covered completely with brush and juniper, and there's really no clear path to get to there if there's ever an emergency. So that's been an area of concern.
Okay, any questions on these?
I was just wondering if Ken ever thought there was any concern up there. Crystal Springs.
I'll tell you what,
It's
Been a long time.
having been trumping all of those hills, I can verify there's a lot of brush.
Yeah.
I guess my question, and I have no problem with this, but when you say access, are we talking vehicles? Are we talking, what kind of access are we?
The way it was
looking at?
explained to me is emergency access. If it's that area, I guess from the way the winds or the gusts go, it's a path of fire where it leads that way.
Okay.
If ever the fire department or emergency services need to get to there, it's difficult to get to there. So vehicle or even little side-by-sides, they need to clear that area just in general.
As steep as that is on some of that.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You
It was
probably couldn't get to it
steep.
anyway, but there is some lower part that I think I think there's some merit to that, but if a fire ever come across there with the right wind, it'll go clear to Inman, because of that. Have you looked at, there is a boundary trail that is maintained by the Forest Service that actually goes clear around there, clear to probably Inman and back around on that back side. It would be interesting to see if if anybody's maintaining that trail, because you can run four-wheelers around there.
I maintain that trail
Do you? Have you been on it?
Okay.
with my dirt bike.
Yeah. Can you get on it with a four-wheeler? Okay, so there is some other entities there that we might want to cooperate with to see what they would do too. But, yeah, how far around is it?
All the way.
It's a
long one.
I've only been part of it.
Sounds fun.
It's a horrible trail for anyone that's listening. Don't go there. It's very difficult. It's not beautiful.
And it's even hard to walk. I've been on it walking, but anyway.
I would like to clarify, so it's going to cost $5,000 to write each grant.
Uh-huh.
Are those funds going to come from Homeland Security, as they have in the past? Or are they going to come from the grant if we're awarded? Because in the past, it's come from the grant.
In the past for these?
Yes.
For the IDO?
Yes, I
I'll
just
have to confirm
confirmed.
that with Charity.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to confirm that, only because then we know where we're paying the $10,000.
I would just assume it's as we've done historically.
Yeah.
I was not aware of any
Okay.
change in process or
If
procedure.
that's going to be the same, that's great.
Yeah, I was not aware of anything, so I can't answer that either.
I think you're right, because of the breakdown on the grant, it's part of the administrative costs, yeah, so I think you are correct, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve these 2 grants as we find out where the funding is coming
Yeah.
from and if
I'll
it's
get that
coming
to
back
you
through the
soon.
grant itself.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any further discussion on that?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Christy Clauser.
Krista Clauser, Comptroller. I have before the board the revised personnel, or travel policy. The revision on this was basically that Bannock County will pay an approved or adopted rate, which at this point is still 45 cents a mile, because we've not changed that, and that mileage may be reimbursed for round trip as opposed to one-way that we had been doing, and that it's up to the elected official to determine if an employee can take a personal vehicle as opposed to requiring a county vehicle.
Discussion?
I looked at it, I'm okay with that. I like that version. I guess we just need to make, I don't know if there's anything that would come up that I guess we could actually adopt that rate somewhere mid-year if there were conditions that all of a sudden fuel went up or down. I assume it says adopted rate, which means would we have to go through any major
You have to do a resolution. That's how we've done it in the
to do
past.
that? That would be my only question is.
I think that the easiest path forward is at some point during the budget process, we discuss a rate and we leave it at that rate for the year.
Agree with that.
And unless there was all of a sudden something, but I can't imagine
I would
what that
say,
would be.
even if there is something, just leave,
Person's
this
making
is,
profit anyway.
yep, this is our rate,
Well,
this is what we're paying
We'll
this
agree to
year.
disagree with that one.
Well, then we will when this vote comes
Yeah,
up too.
the cost of maintaining a car is, you
It
know.
is specifically clear
Right.
in this policy that the reimbursement for mileage does not constitute reimbursement for wear and tear on a personal vehicle.
I agree.
We don't attempt to reimburse for
No.
that. It's just to get you there and back.
That's by nature what that is, so, okay.
It's gonna be a difficult policy to administer for those of us that have a lot of employees that travel, that don't already have vehicles.
Well, I'll just state my statement, that I think that this is gonna cost the county more money. I think that we have a policy in place right now that has been efficient and effective, and so I really don't like this. I like the policy that we can currently have.
Okay. I would entertain a motion then.
Well, since I guess been the driving force, I will make the motion that we go ahead and adopt the changes on this policy regarding the use of personal vehicles.
All right, we have a motion. Is there any further discussion?
Said my part.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
There we go, motion passes. Okay, resolutions and ordinances. We have Resolution 2026-13, alcohol licenses, 14 for salaries, 15 disposing of surplus property. Any questions, comments, or concerns on those resolutions?
This one does have the changes that we talked about in personnel in the road and bridge. Is that the schedule that we have here for the,
There was no change in date on that one. You guys signed it and approved it.
okay. But I just noticed the change of classifications from the mechanics and whatever. I just wondered if this was part of that.
Yes, you've got the one individual
Okay,
effective on 2/24. The other person is not, and we won't approve that one for 60-ish days.
okay. So as far as I know, this is all that we've agreed to at this point on
Yes.
any of these with the discussions we've had in the past.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
With that, I would make the motion that we adopt the resolution, is it 2026-14,
13, 14, and
13, 14, and 15?
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next is signature only for permission to enter property forms for the Lava Ranches Phase 2 and the notice of award for the grant agreement for the Partnership for Success Law Enforcement Grant. Any questions on either of those items?
No.
Nope.
I'd make a motion to go ahead and do a signature on the two stated projects.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And that takes us to the consent agenda. Any questions, comments, or concerns on the consent agenda?
I didn't see anything. I'll make the motion that we go ahead and approve the items represented on the consent agenda.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 And with that, we are adjourned for